As the Soviet Union began to weaken in the late 1980s, political tensions rose inside the Moldavian Soviet Socialist Republic. Moldovan nationalist movements pushed for greater autonomy, the use of the Romanian language, and eventual independence. These changes alarmed minorities in two regions. In the east, along the Dniester River, Transnistria had a large Russian and Ukrainian-speaking population and a strong Soviet industrial base. In the south, the Turkic-speaking Gagauz minority also opposed Moldovan nationalism. By 1990, both regions feared that Moldova was moving away from the Soviet Union and closer to Romania. The first open challenge came from Gagauzia. In August 1990, Gagauz leaders in Comrat proclaimed the Gagauz Republic, declaring it part of the Soviet Union rather than Moldova. The Moldovan government rejected the declaration and issued arrest warrants for its leaders, but avoided a military response. Tensions remained high, yet large-scale fighting did not occur, as both sides focused on negotiations. Soon after, Transnistria followed a harder path. In September 1990, leaders in Tiraspol proclaimed the Pridnestrovian Moldavian Republic. Unlike the Gagauz Republic, Transnistria immediately began organizing armed militias, especially in industrial cities such as Tiraspol, Bender, and Ribnica. Soviet army units were still stationed in the region, creating uncertainty about who really held power. By the end of 1990, tensions turned into violence. Moldovan authorities attempted to reassert control in Transnistrian towns by deploying police units and special detachments. The first serious clashes occurred around Dubasari, where local militias blocked bridges across the Dniester River. In November 1990, shootings broke out between Moldovan police and Transnistrian fighters. Several people were killed, marking the first fatalities of the conflict. Throughout early 1991, similar incidents continued along the river. Armed checkpoints appeared, weapons were seized from local armories, and both sides began preparing for a larger confrontation. Soviet army units remained in the region, but largely avoided direct involvement. In August 1991, following the failed coup in Moscow, Moldova declared full independence. The declaration removed the remaining Soviet political framework that had restrained the conflict. During late 1991, Moldova began forming its own armed forces from police units, volunteers, and former Soviet soldiers. At the same time, Transnistria organized the Republican Guard, creating a more structured military force. By early 1992, clashes intensified again, especially around Dubasari and nearby villages. Both sides now treated the conflict as an approaching war rather than a political dispute. Moldovan forces launched operations to regain control of key river crossings and security posts along the Dniester. Russian forces officially claimed neutrality, but Russian officers frequently acted as advisors, and heavy weapons from Russian-controlled depots increasingly appeared on the battlefield. In March 1992, the conflict escalated into open war. Moldovan forces launched coordinated operations along the Dniester River, aiming to regain control of key crossings and contested villages. Fighting continued around Dubasari, with repeated Moldovan attempts to break through Transnistrian defenses. The decisive phase came in June 1992, when heavy fighting erupted in Bender. Moldovan troops entered the city and captured several strategic positions, bringing the war into dense urban areas west of the river. Transnistrian forces counterattacked with direct support from Russia's 14th Army. Russian artillery units shelled Moldovan positions around Bender and nearby crossings, while Russian armored vehicles secured key routes. This intervention decisively shifted the balance of the war. Moldovan forces were forced to withdraw, and after the fighting in Bender, further large-scale Moldovan offensives became impossible. On 21st July 1992, Moldova and Russia signed a ceasefire agreement, ending the fighting along the Dniester River. The war stopped, but no political settlement was reached. A security zone was established and monitored by joint peacekeeping forces composed of Russian, Moldovan, and Transnistrian units. Russian troops remained in Transnistria, giving the region long-term military protection. Transnistria retained control of the east bank of the Dniester and the city of Bender, leaving Moldova unable to restore control by force. The conflict became frozen. At the same time, Moldova pursued a different approach in the south. After the failed declaration of the Gagauz Republic in 1990, tensions in Gagauzia gradually eased. In 1994, Moldova granted Gagauzia autonomous status, allowing local self-government while remaining within the Moldovan state. Unlike Transnistria, the Gagauz conflict was resolved politically rather than militarily. By the mid-1990s, Moldova was left with two very different outcomes: a negotiated settlement in Gagauzia and a Russian-backed frozen conflict in Transnistria.